I've been playing Pokemon since 2011, and within that time period, I've caught some Pokemon in the games that are pretty special to me. So in this video, I just want to go through and talk about some of my favorite individual Pokemon that I've caught throughout my years of playing the games before the Teal Mask comes out and I can bring them on the Nintendo Switch. So with every Pokemon, maybe I'll go into a bit of history on why I like him so much. Maybe I have a story connected to it. We'll see how it goes. I just thought while all my Pokemon were in one place in Pokemon Home, I could make a video with it before it's time to move them all to the Switch. So without any further ado, let's get started. I should say that I'm using this application that puts my phone screen on the computer, and without paying I only get 5 minutes at a time, so there might be some weird cuts when the time period runs out. I'm not paying for Pro for that, no. Anyway, let's get started for real now, shall we? I have 48 awesome Pokemon. I'm just gonna go through them and see what I can say about them. Of course, this isn't scripted, so let's start. 2011, I first met it. So Serperior. What can I say about my Serperior that I haven't already said? It's my first Pokemon ever. When I got my first game, Pokemon White. I could tell the story of how that happened. So, when I was little, I used to be afraid of movie theaters. I don't know why. So, one day I went to a movie theater, and as a reward for overcoming my fear, I got Pokemon White as a gift, which is a game I really wanted because I had a friend from school. His name was Nate. And he had Pokemon White or Black, one of them, I don't remember. Anyway, he used to play it every day, and I thought it was really cool. He had an Emboar, and I thought his Emboar was really cool because he taught it a fire move. It probably was Heat Crash or Flame Charge or something, but it also knew Scald and Grass Knot. So I thought that was so cool. It knew the three main types of moves. So when it came out, I was getting Pokemon White version. He said he would trade me his Emboar, which I thought was so cool, for a level 5 Snivy. And of course, I was like, oh my god, that's a great deal. I'm going to do it. So instead of picking Tepig when I got the game, I picked Snivy with full intention to trade him over. And so we eventually saw each other. He was already a Serperior. And it turned out that... I think I didn't want to trade him, so I just traded him a Staryu instead. And we traded back anyway, because of course it was an unfair trade. But yeah, and that's the story of how I got my first Pokemon and how I kept my first Pokemon, Serperior. Actually, no. I messed that story up, didn't I? Serperior knew Cut, so I couldn't trade him over. So that's why I did the Staryu instead. See, this video is going to help me remember some things too. Yeah, I remember we were at a restaurant together. Of course, our parents were there because we were little. Where was I going? My Serperior knew an HM move, so we couldn't trade it. So you know what? Fate has it that I still have my first partner Pokemon. As you can see, I gave it Aqua Tail to kind of match the coolness of the Emboar having Scald. I guess technically, if I bring him into Scarlet and Violet, and the Indigo Disc comes out, I can give him Fire Terra Blast, but I don't think I'm going to do that. His moveset's very important to me. Outrage and Strength are like two of my favorite moves. Aqua Tail's awesome and needs his Stab Leaf Blade. So, as you can see, my first OT was Mike in all caps. But yeah, that's the story of my first Pokemon, so let's keep it going. Simipour. So, Simipour is an interesting case here, because I used to really dislike Simipour as a Pokemon, and if I'm being honest, I don't like its design still to this day very much. I don't like the hair or the eyes, but I'm sure you know this, in the Unova games, the first gym is always strong against your starter. And so, without the water type Simipour, I wouldn't have been able to beat Chili. And you know, I don't like the Pokemon very much as a species, but I can't deny this particular one helped me get my first gym badge ever. And you know, that's pretty important to me. As you can see by the level and the moves, this is a recent addition to my, we'll call it a playlist, my awesome Pokemon playlist. So that's why it's so low level. I do want to change its moves, I have it written down. I want to give him Water Pledge, Ice Beam, Focus Blast, and Hyper Beam. So hopefully I could bring him to the Switch sometime soon to get those moves done. So yeah, that's story of how one of my least favorite Pokemon made its way into the awesome category. Kling Kling. I don't have too much to say about this particular Kling Kling, but when I was rounding up the awesome Pokemon from all my DS games, or ones that would make it into the awesome Pokemon playlist, this Kling Kling, as a Kling, was in my first Hall of Fame for Pokemon White version. And I like Kling Kling a lot, actually. I like a lot of Object Mons, which is weird because people are supposed to not like them. But yeah, if I had a Kling on my team when I first beat the game, of course I loved Kling as a Pokemon, and Kling Kling too. And so I decided, yes, he is coming over. I am going to put you in my awesome playlist. I love Kling Kling, and he was there for my first game clear. I don't remember too much about. I don't remember anything about him, I'm not gonna lie, but he was there for my first game clear, and it's a Pokemon I really, really like anyway. So let's keep it going. Thundurus. It was my first roaming legendary, my first Master Belt Pokemon. What can I say? As a kid, you don't strategize. You can't think, hey, maybe I'll toxic it, put it to sleep so I can catch it easier. I was like, oh my god, that Pokemon's special. He keeps running away from me. I have to Master Ball it right now. I did. Special Pokemon to me again. He was in my first Game Clear Hall of Fame, so of course this Thundurus is with me in the awesome playlist. I do want to replace Thunder with Wild Bolt Storm now that he has his own signature move, so hopefully I can do that when I bring him over to the Nintendo Switch. So let's keep it going. Volcarona. Now, I'm sure you know why this Volcarona is special if you've played the Unova games. It was my first Pokemon egg hatched, and while I'm at my first egg Pokemon, I'll explain what the marks mean. So, the circle mark means that they were hatched from an egg. The square mark means they're canon to my journey. The heart mark means I like them as a Pokemon. The star mark means they did something special, individual to them. And the diamond mark means they're gonna come to me to every generation I could take them. So Volcarona. I remember I was going across the big bridge in Unova, and I got the O message, and I've never seen the O message before. I remember thinking like maybe it was Charon or something coming up to me for some reason, and then, the heart attached into a Larvesta, Pokemon I've never seen before, and I trained it up. I don't know, when I first did the game clear in the Hall of Fame, he was still a Larvesta, so he evolved pretty late on, which most Larvestas do. He has a high level up. But yeah, very special Pokemon to me. My first egg, that's my Volcarona. Let's keep this going before I run out of time again. Zekrom. Again, what can I say about him that I haven't already said in my favorite Pokemon video? My first level 100 was the Zekrom. Let me tell you about his move, Outrage. So Outrage, when he learned it, let me backtrack a bit, hang on. I couldn't beat Alder. I could not beat Alder, even with my Zekrom. But when he learned Outrage, this 120 Dragon type move, I challenged the Elite Four again, and thanks to Outrage I was able to defeat Alder. And later on, we got to level 100 together, and oh my god, that's laggy. Help. I remember I got Zekrom to level 100 on a Wild Sunkern, so that's the story of my first level 100 Pokemon. Let's keep it going. And Cobalion. I found him in a cave. I caught him, the legendary Pokemon. I'm like, oh my god, you're so cool, you're Cobalion, and I have good memories of that. I don't have too much to say about him in particular, unfortunately. Some Pokemon I have more stories than others. But Cobalion, just a legendary I saw as a kid. I caught it, and he was a cool legendary of mine. I could tell a little story. I remember one day I was going ice skating. So in the car I was playing Pokemon White, and I was in a separate cave. This was after catching Cobalion. And I saw something that looked like a similar sprite, like in the distance, but we just got to the rink. So I turned my DS off, and the entire time, it looks like my thing expired, but I'll finish telling the story. And the entire time, while I was skating, I was thinking, oh, I can't wait to go back in the cave and catch whatever Pokemon that was, because I thought it was something similar to Cobalion, an overworld sprite. And I got there, and I walked another step forward, and it was one of those like traffic cones in the caves that got me tricked. So yeah, that's a little Sword of Justice adjacent story. Now let me put this code back in because I am not paying to get the pro version of this. Who's next? Steelix. I'll admit it, this Steelix right here might be the one I have the least to say about. I have very, very vague memories of this Steelix in my Pokemon White days. I remember throwing it out in the Elite Four and seeing the dust cloud form under it. That's all I have of the Steelix, but I'm sure this is the one I remember. And this is my this is gonna sound mean to my virtual pet who isn't real. I feel bad saying it, but this is my least awesome Pokemon. Another reason he's here, I just fucking like Steelix a lot. It's an awesome Pokemon. But we'll swiftly move on because I don't have much to say about him, but I do love him. Kyurem. This is a similar story to Cobalion. I was a child. I discovered this legendary Pokemon. I caught it. Rest is history. I've thought about fusing this Kyurem with my Zekrom in the past, but I decided against it. But yeah, let's go steam through these till we get to the good stuff. Landorus. So when I was little, I had a childhood friend. His name was Brandon. He had Pokemon Black version, so I think it was him who found out about Landorus. So we took turns giving each other his Tornadus and my Thundurus to catch Landorus. I don't know where I got the second Master Ball, but I did. And yeah, that's this Landorus. And yeah, I promise as we go on and I start getting less amazed by legendaries, the explanations get more in depth. Like this Emboar. His name is Fireball. As you can see, I gave him Salt and Grass Knot with his fire move. This was my Black and White 2 starter. Yep, as you can see, I started lowercasing the rest of my name. It's no longer Mike, it's just Mike. And yeah, he got me through Pokemon White 2. I remember the same guy, Brandon, when we were little. He made fun of the name Fireball, but it is what it is. Let's go on. Zor. Zor is the Zoroark you get from N. I will say, I got this, he's here because I really like Zoroark. I did check my Pokemon White 2 Hall of Fame record, and Zoroark was not in it, so unfortunately I didn't beat the game with him. I don't know why. Maybe I just felt against it, but now he's with us. Yep. I like N as a Pokemon. Zoroark has to be like my... He was one of my favorite Pokemon. He's really cool. I used to think he was legendary back in Black and White 1. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that with how, mysterious he was. He had his own movie, a unique ability. I wouldn't be surprised if more people than less used to think he was legendary. Anyway. Chestnut Forest. Pokemon X and Y was so hype. Pokemon's first jump into 3D. I'll say right now, some subtle spoilers, my entire X and Y team is in my awesome playlist. Forest. What can I say about him? I picked Chespin because I like Chespin a lot. No ulterior story to that. No, I wanted to trade my Chespin off. I was like, I like Chespin a lot. I'm picking him. I started X and Y with the same Brandon. He was with me a lot with my early Pokemon days. He grew out of it. I never did. And I never will. Yep. And as you can see, we've gone from Mike to Michael. X and Y is when I started using my full name. Yeah, I never go by Mike today. Never. Anyway. Next up, Blaziken. If you were around during the release of X and Y, you know what this Blaziken is. The Speed Boost Mega Blaziken. It was like a second starter Pokemon to me. Of course, I put him in. And yeah. This is my Blaziken. Blastoise. This is my pick This was my pick from Professor Sycamore when he gave me this other's Kanto starter in Lumio City. A lot of big words in there. I picked him because, grass, fire, water, the full type triangle. Yep. I like Charizard a lot better, but it just made sense for the types. It turned out this Blastoise ended up being a physical attacker because of his brave nature, so that's an interesting thing that makes my Blastoise a bit more unique compared to others. So let's see our next team member. And we're out of time! Woohoo! Time to cut type, refresh the app. Alright, nothing's wrong. This is Tyrantrum. Again, as you can see from his level, a more recent addition to the awesome playlist. I like Tyrantrum a lot, which is a recent love. It's a big fucking T-Rex, come on. How could you not like it? Fun story about him. I remember him evolving on a Halloween day when I was playing Pokemon Y. And yeah, I liked Tyrantrum a lot. I gave him 2 Fang moves in Head Smash and Dragon Claw. Yeah, this is the first fossil Pokemon in my awesome playlist. I don't know which fossil I picked in Pokemon Black for my Unova game, so as far as I'm concerned, this is my first fossil Pokemon ever. And I'm so happy it's Tyrantrum and T-Rex, are you kidding me? Such a cool fossil, I don't care if it's overrated. Anyway, Hawlucha. I used to think Hawlucha was the coolest thing. Like, I remember when Pokemon X and Y was coming out, I would like go on YouTube, like full Pokedex, and I saw Hawlucha, a flying and fighting type, the 2 opposites. I was sold. I was like, oh my god, I want that thing. As soon as I managed to catch one, it went right out of my team. I like Hawlucha a lot. I give it Poison Jab to deal with fairy types, because it's a fighting type. And yeah, Hawlucha. Abomasnow. Again, I don't have too much to say. He was on my Kalos team. He was a Mega Abomasnow, of course. I just needed something to round off my Kalos team. And in the place where you're riding the Mamoswine, I caught a Snover. I somehow obtained an Abomasnow. Actually, I don't think I used the Abomasnow or Mega Abomasnow in the Elite Four. I think I got the Megastone after. I'm saying Abomasnow wrong. I don't know how to say it. Abomasnow. I don't know. Anyway, this was the final member to cap off my Kalos team. Yeah. Nemo. So, in Pixelmon, there were 6 particular Pokemon that would make my Pixelmon team. I liked them all a lot. I just kind of threw them in my awesome playlist because I wanted to be able to remake that team in real Pokemon. So if they show up, I'll point that out. They're in my, we'll call it my Pixelmon team. And yeah, they all have cool names. They all have nicknames too. So this is Nemo, Gyarados. Goes without saying, Gyarados is one of my favorite Pokemon. Cool giant aqua serpent. And in Pixelmon, you could ride him around in the oceans. It was really cool. Yep, next. Hive. I like Beedrill a lot. He was on my Pixelmon team. I don't know why I like him. I can't give you a concrete reason. I look at him and I get happy. Even before he got a Mega Evolution, I promise. My love for him is very old, before we had Mega Beedrill. Shadow. Shadow is in my Pixelmon team, but he was also in my awesome playlist before I started putting that Pixelmon team together. Just a cool Gengar that helped me out in Pokemon X and Y. Bob. This is the Snorlax that is on the bridge in Kalos. You have to play the flute to wake him up. As you can see from his location, that is confirmed, right? Route 7. This is another Pokemon that was in my Pixelmon team. Flame. Let me start by saying he wasn't my Pixelmon team, but he's so much more than that. He is also in my All-Star team, which I forgot to mention. So far, that would have been Serperior, Volcarona, Zekrom, and now Flame. They're just like my 6 go-to favorite Pokemon in this. So I bred a Charizard named Flame in Pokemon X and Y, and that was like my Zekrom of Pokemon X and Y, the Pokemon was like my go-to. I like Charizard a lot. I didn't care he was overrated. I still don't care that he's overrated. Fun fact, Scorching Sands used to be Earthquake, Air Slash used to be Fly, but I changed it up so he would be mostly special. And yeah, this was my primary post-game Kalos team member. As you can tell, you know, I kind of wish I picked a Charmander instead of a Blastoise during the Sycamore thing, but oh, and my time's up. But I didn't, but it's okay, now I have both Blastoise and Flame with me. So let me restart that and we'll go on to the next Pokemon. Berg. Okay. Amadou Berg and Icicle together because they're very similar. They were just two great Pokemon in the X and Y post game. They were kind of a semi-late addition to my awesome playlist. I saw them both level 100 in my team. I was like, hey, they helped me out a bunch. I'm going to throw them in here. I think this is a good time to mention the only honorable mention, the one that was this close to being snubbed from the awesome playlist. There's a Pangoro in Pokemon X and Y called Nightbear, who almost made the list. The reason being was because he was like my go-to Pokemon back when I transferred all my good Pokemon out of X and Y and into Pokemon Bank at the time. And so, but he just didn't make it because I needed somebody to take care of the X and Y cartridge, you know? So Nightbear is the one and only honorable mention. But yeah, we'll move on to our next Pokemon, who is Hydro. Hydro, I'll do again, along with Marshmallow the Whimsicott. So I'll talk about these both guys as a pair. So, I was in middle school around when this happened. Had to be middle school, yeah. And I found these friends on the bus I went on that had Pokemon. One of them played really competitively, and most of them did play competitively actually. And so I had no idea what EV training was at the time. So I thought I would give it a shot of breeding a competitive team, and both of these Pokemon, Hydro and Marshmallow, were on that team. And so I bred them. Of course, you could see Hydro's been in the awesome playlist longer than Marshmallow, who was the only other part of this original competitive team that I was able to salvage. I remember there was a Torkoal on there too, but I don't know where that Torkoal went, unfortunately. But anyway, as you can see from the movesets, it wasn't a good competitive moveset. I didn't understand the difference between physical and special moves and EV Train, so I challenged the kid who was really into competitive Pokemon, was Corey, and his favorite Pokemon was Jigglypuff. I'm never going to forget that. And of course, he beat me every time. They kind of made fun of my Hydro and Marshmallow a little bit because, you know, they weren't competitive, they were so weak. You could see I tried doing some strategy, you know, Stun Spore, U-turn out of there, or what was this? Bulk up and then use my powerful moves. A fun story, one time I was challenging Corey through wireless. We were both in our own homes. He just challenged me out of the blue. This is like before we really had phones, so no talking, just DS battling. He had an Aegislash, and I froze it with Ice Beam, and I spent like every turn of it frozen using Bulk Up, which wouldn't have done anything because Brick Break doesn't affect those types. And so of course I lost, and he clowned on me the next day for using Bulk Up while he had a frozen Aegislash. But I thought that entire story deserved to bring both of these guys to the awesome playlist. So let's move on. Who's next? Brain, Kanto, the Pixelmon team. And that rounds off the Pixelmon team to be all Kanto Pokemon, because in the first version of Pixelmon there was only Kanto Pokemon, so it was what I had to choose from. And yeah, here's the Alakazam fill-in for that team. He's named after the mouse Brain from Pinky and the Brain. I thought about naming him Nezu 2 from My Hero Academia, but I went with Brain at the end. So yeah, who's next? Swampert. This is as good a time as any to say every one of my starters is here in Pokemon Home. So this Swampert was my Omega Ruby starter. I wasn't going to pick Torchic, of course, because I just used a Blaziken in Pokemon X and Y, and I didn't pick Trico either, so it was Mudkip, because I liked Mudkip, I guess, and I think I didn't pick Trico because I was tired of the grass starters, which I've been doing a lot. Actually, this is my first water starter, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So yep, here's my starter for Hoenn, great reliable partner. Mightyena. This was the Dex Nav Poochyena you caught. You could see it has Fire Fang, which is a unique move. That's why I thought he was so cool. And yeah, I added him to my awesome playlist in my Hoenn team, of course, because he was special move. And yeah, this is my Mightyena. Manectric was meant to be my primary Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Omega Ruby. Just like Obama Snow, I can't get his Megastone until the game's over, so he was just kind of a Manectric on my team, who was still really great. But yes, that is my Mega Manectric story. Great Hoenn team member. I know who's next. Latias. This is the final legendary in this list, I promise. So, this Latias, it's the one you soar on by playing the Eon Flute in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. You know, I had to put it in my awesome playlist. He was soaring me around. It was so cool flying above Hoenn. So of course, I called him a he. So of course, this Latias is gonna stick with me forever because of all the memories I had soaring around Hoenn on it. Decidueye, and I'm back to grass starters right away. So this Decidueye was my Alola starter, of course. I did not like Incineroar. I did not like Primarina. Decidueye was what was left. He was a great SOS Pokemon with both False Swipe and Foresight. With that combo, I was able to SOS for a shiny Palo Sand, or Sandygast, I guess, which the Black Sand is like my favorite shiny. I hesitate to say ever, but you know what, little detour, let me show you that particular shiny. He's not in Pokemon Home right now. Whoops, I left him in Pokemon Slick-Arlet, I guess. Just take my word, he helped me hunt a shiny Sandygast. Of course, it's a super cool Pokemon besides all the personal things I have with him. And yeah, that is my awesome Decidueye. This is the next member of my all-star team, and the 5th member if you've been keeping track. Primeape is my favorite Pokemon. I have an entire video about it. I'll put a little thing right there showing that video. Or was I? I like him because he can learn Thunderbolt. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's so funny to me. This pissed off pig monkey can use Thunderbolt like Ash's Pikachu. I've talked about why I like Primeape way too much on this channel, so I'm going to keep this pretty short. One thing I will say is that Night Slash used to be Giga Impact before I realized that, hey, that means he would have no effect on Pokemon like Golurk or Palo Sand, ground those types. So I put it to Night Slash to compensate. It was almost Seed Bomb, but I went with Night Slash at the end of the day. Incineroar. I know I was shit-talking Incineroar just a second ago, but I wasn't going to pick the same starter twice in Pokemon, what are those games called? Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So, got Incineroar. I like Incineroar better than Primarina. And I have come to grow on Incineroar a bit. Do like its design. And yes, this is my awesome Incineroar who helped me during my second Alolan journey. Arc. Just like some previous pairs, I'm going to go over two Pokemon at once, Arc and Arbo. So, both of these Pokemon wouldn't be in this list without the other. So, these were team members in my Ultra Moon playthrough. And if you know anything about that game, you know about the Ultra Necrozma boss fight, which, it's brutal, man. I got my team swept. I thought, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose this baby game. And so I sent out Arc, who disguised himself as Arbo. Now, if you know, Ultra Necrozma's most powerful move is a psychic move called Photon Geyser. Or Geyser? I don't know. So, he kept on using what it thought was a super effective Photon Geyser on Arbo, when in reality, it was Arc, who was immune to psychic type moves. And through that, I was able to confuse and cheese out the victory to save my playthrough in against Ultra Necrozma. So that's the story there. And yeah, I remember panicking really hard before this pair of Pokemon saved my booty. I do want to replace Bite with Crunch when I have the chance to. And this Arbo, you might know this. I traded a Trumbeak for her to make I think this is my final team member in my second Alolan journey. So yes, that's the story of Arc and Arbo. Reclaimed. When I was little. And this is back in the all capital Mike days. Or maybe no, this is Black 2, lowercase Mike. What am I saying? Don't listen to me, I'm crazy. I was in New York at my aunt's house. I remember the morning we were going to go back to the airport to come back home to my home state, I found a shiny Reuniqueless. With Zor, I defeated it because I didn't know Dark was strong against Psychic. So I was like, as a kid, you don't care that much, whatever. You know, sucks I missed that different color Pokemon, but whatever. I got older, I realized, shoot, I killed my first shiny. And so, later down the line, in 2019, I sat down and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna redeem myself. I'm getting a shiny Solosis. If it's the last thing I do. Fun fact, I have a shiny male Solosis too, because I specifically wanted the shiny female Solosis because I checked the Pokemon Black and White 2 Pokedex and it showed it was a female Solosis. So that's the story of Reclaimed, who is, by the way, my final all-star team member, this shiny Reuniqueless called Reclaimed. So it's the story of my first shiny. The first shiny Pokemon I didn't fail to capture was a Spinda, which is lost to time unfortunately, which is a big bummer because shiny Spindas are super unique because they all have different patterns, so I'm kicking myself over that. I think I gave it away in a Pokemon Showdown giveaway, which I should not have done. Stupid me. Bad me. Hit myself. Anyway. Scopel. Pokemon was coming to Switch. That was really hype. Unfortunately, the game sucked. But Sobble was my pick. I liked Sobble a lot. I went into Pokemon Sword and Shield, is what it was called, right? Blind, so I didn't know what he would evolve into. And then he evolves into, what's his name? Drizzle. I was not happy with Drizzle. I thought it was so goofy. Then he evolved one more time into Inteleon, and I liked him a little bit better. Still not one of my least favorite designed Pokemon, but still I can't deny he was there for me in my Galar journey. Great Pokemon. And yeah, I like how he could I almost said terrestrialize Gigantamax just to snipe around a tower. It's hilarious, of course. I fed him Max Stew, but you won't see that icon because I brought him into Violet already, so the terrestrialization icon's there instead. Junker. Garbodor is one of my favorite Pokemon, and I never had a chance to raise one until the Isle of Armor DLC. I think even before that, because it was before Max Stew. I remember seeing Gigantamax Garbodor, I was like, oh my god, a Pokemon that I thought only I liked is getting special treatment. I have to raise one. So I bred a Trubbish, as you can see from the circle icon, he's from an egg. And then it was then I learned they couldn't just turn into Gigantamax forms, they had to catch them from the maxed in, so I was like, bummer. Okay, fine, I'll just keep this regular Garbodor then. Then the Isle of Armor DLC came out, and with it Max Stew, and I was like, oh my god, thank god I didn't replace him. Instead, I could just give him Max Stew, and then, boom. That's it. He's a Gigantamax Garbodor. Funnily enough, I call it his baby pictures. I have him as a Trubbish playing in Pokemon Camp in Pokemon Camp. I went into the Switch video, so yeah, I forgot to mention, Junker is named after a Mario and Luigi boss. Mario and Luigi is one of my favorite game franchises of all time. I'd mention that. Who do we have next? Beaky! Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were bad games. But I got them because I'm a slave to Pokemon, and I picked an Empoleon or a Piplup because I just wanted to name him Beaky, and I'll tell you why. Beaky315 was the name of my first Club Penguin account. Club Penguin was big for me growing up. Of course, I had to name a penguin Pokemon after that. So it turned out being this Empoleon, which I do love Torterra and Infernape a lot. Sinnoh has goated starters, so it was a tough pick. But just being able to pay tribute to my Club Penguin account was enough for me to pick Empoleon as my Brilliant Diamond starter. Who's next? Henry. We take a trip back to Galar. My first hacked Wonder Trade Pokemon was a Nidoking named Henry. shiny. It was all competitive ready. When I kind of grasped the fact it was hacked, I wonder traded it off. A funny story with the original Henry, the hacked Henry. I remember getting it, being pretty excited. Of course, I knew it was hacked off the bat. I just didn't have morals until then, until I decided to wonder trade him away. My cousin Jake, or you know as Maleki, aka Maleki, locked himself in a room and threatened to release Henry. And that was just a fun little cousin interaction. Of course, he didn't. I ended up parting with the hacked Henry on my own. So eventually, I thought it was time to breed my own shiny Nidoking named Henry to immortalize that situation of finding my first hacked Pokemon through Wonder Trade. And so this is my 100% legit, I swear to God, hatched Nidoking. Yep. Usually he'll be holding a life orb because of Share Force, which means he'll get the boost without using the health. No competitive fact of the day. Serena. This is another story Maleki's involved in. I'll call him Jake. So I thought about doing my first ever Nuzlocke in Pokemon X and Y. I forgot it was X and Y. And so the tutorial where Serena catches the Pokemon for you, it was a shiny Bunnelby. I closed my DS. I'm so mad at myself I have no records of it. You have to take my word. You have my word and Jake's word to go off because he was on FaceTime with me. I showed him, I let the cutscene play out, and I didn't continue the Nuzlocke from then. I never done a Nuzlocke since, and I probably never, ever will because of that luck. And so later on, around the same time I decided to hatch Henry, I was like, you know what? I have to redeem myself. I need a shiny Bunnelby, and I have to name her Serena because that's the situation it happened with. And I just... one regret in life. I have a lot of regrets in life, but this is one of them. I wish I documented that. And I could have. I had an iPhone at the time. I could have recorded it. But I didn't. And so, you have to take my word. I got that really shitty RNG tutorial shiny Bunnelby. Anyway. That Minum is bred. I have to change his markings. My bad. Anyway, let's not get off topic. My first Pokemon game was not Pokemon White. It was Pokemon Ranger. And in Pokemon Ranger, if you play as the male character, which I am male, can't be too sure these days, right? The partner Pokemon you get is a Minum, and so this cry is like engraved in my head. So nostalgic just hearing that. And so, if you want to get technical with it, Minun was my first Pokemon. Not this Minun, of course. But, yeah. While I'm on the topic, I would do anything to make a Switch Ranger game. Come on, please. If you're watching this, Nintendo, anybody who has connections to Nintendo, give us another Pokemon Ranger. It was my introduction to the series. Come on. Anyway. Now we're into Paldea. Skeledirge. Fuecoco was my pick. Again, I went into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet pretty blind, so Skeledirge was a pleasant surprise for me. This isn't a praise to Skeledirge, but more of a criticism of the games themselves. Skeledirge swept Gita, the champion, all by herself. So I'm proud of her for that, but at the same time, her team is so weak to just Skeledirge, and I don't know why. But I guess Pneumonian's the real final boss of that game. I hope Gita comes out as a fraud in the DLC. I do not like her as a character. But I do like Skeledirge's design a lot. I love how we're back to quadrupedal starter Pokemon. Yeah, it was always going to be Fuecoco. The other two, I'm not going to lie, the starter choice was not close in this generation. Skeledirge. We all knew it was going to be here. We all knew Annihilate was going to be here. Of course, I wasn't going to evolve my Primeape, because he's my boy. I still love Primeape more than I love Annihilate. But I say I go into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet blind, but I knew about Annihilate going into the game. So as soon as I saw a Mankey, I caught it. And this was an Annihilate who was on my team. Of course, he couldn't do anything against Gita because Skeledirge totally swept her. But yes, This is my Annihilate, who assisted me in my Paldea treasure hunt. I got him Phantom Force because I thought it'd be cool for him to use portals. And his Pokemon Home model, I haven't seen him like too much because I just put him into Pokemon Home for this video. It's a great Pokemon Home model, wow. Okay, next up, Voltorona, the Iron Moth. Let me do this next guy at the same time too. Protorona, my Slitherwing. So these guys, Volcarona is one of my favorite Pokemon. He's on my all-star team. Not very many Pokemon get the both present or the past and future treatment. So when Volcarona did, I knew I had to catch both of his forms and add them to my awesome playlist. Iron Moth I don't like as much as Slitherwing, but still pretty cool. Luckily, I do think Iron Moth has the best Future Paradox form of all. Really won the lottery there. But Slitherwing, oh my god, I love Slitherwing so much. I want to just hug him. I love how he stands on his hind legs. That's hilarious. Just Protorona, he's my boy. I want to hug him. Looks so fluffy. But yes, for now, those are all of my awesome Pokemon. I'll say the last time I'm gonna round up awesome Pokemon will be in the next games because they're probably gonna be the Unova remakes. I'm gonna pick Samurott as my starter so I can have the 3 Unova starters in my thing. But that'll be the last time I start collecting. That'll be the last time I bring Pokemon from games into my awesome playlist in the Unova remakes. So yeah, one thing I'll note, you might have noticed the lack of Hisuian Pokemon. No Hisuian starter. I did play Legends Arceus. Fantastic game. The reason I decided not to put any Hisuian Pokemon in my awesome playlist is just because I didn't want a part of my trainer story to be him being thrusted back in time all alone like that. But that's just me being stupid and cringy. I will say my team in Legends Arceus did have a Hisuian Samurott on it, who was great. But yeah, I am out of things to say at this point. I am very excited for the Teal Mask and the Indigo Disc to come out, so I can spend the time with some of these Pokemon I haven't been able to play with in a main game for a long time, like Serperior. I'm excited to go camping with him, or what's it called, picnicking in new games? Picnicking with him. But yes, this was a video I was very excited to make. It looks like the share screen just expired. So yes, if you have any particular Pokemon you want to tell stories about, I would love to hear it. And yes, I will stop stalling right now and say outros are hard.